Well, hello YouTube, it's me, Fortmaster, and welcome back to another Zaktact reaction and some more Lancer lore. Now, this is one I've been looking forward to for a while now, since, I heard, the first little inklings about them in the first videos of the playlist. This is Lancer lore Horus, Eldritch Horror Mechs. So yeah, from what I remember in the previous videos, these were the mechs where they were made by some sort of weird Eldritch AI thing. And you could sometimes just be given one if you, ordered and 3D printed another one for whatever reason because of, So honestly, I've been looking forward to this just because of, some of the weird Eldritch things in this setting are very much not like the weird Eldritch things I've seen in other, very far-off future settings. Because, obviously the closest one I can think of off the top of my head, the warp from 40k. From what I understand of it, from what I've learned, it's very much, it was the realm of souls, but it got polluted and corrupted over, millennia of war before humanity even came onto the scene, and now it's essentially basically just hell. And the most Eldritch things you can, think of in the setting are, the Chaos Gods themselves, where they embody all the basically they embody all the aspects of certain things like creativity with Zinch and all that, and honor and stuff like that, but they basically focus on all the negative aspects of them. So the fact that you have a manufacturer of mechs in this universe be Eldritch, I'm honestly wondering how close they'll be to, the demon machines in 40k, because, granted, the only one I've actually seen so far of this was that one, he showed a picture of in, one of the earlier videos, and it was, it was like a mech that walked on all, four, it had, a humanoid body, but it walked on all four, on, hands and legs, and its, weapon or something was, a weird floating ball being projected out of its back or something like that. It was really weird. And yeah, I'm very much interested to learn more about just this weird, freaky thing in this universe, because right now, granted, all the stuff I've learned about have been more or less very grounded. Humanity falling, how humanity spread throughout the stars, FTL tech and all that stuff. But this is going to be the first, weird thing that I'm going to be learning about. So yeah, let's get into this. So yeah, of course, as always, original videos linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Corner video will lead to my Let's Play of the day. And yeah, if you like this video or any other video that I make, I would very much appreciate it if you gave the video a like and subscribe to the channel. All those little things help in the algorithm, and I'm very much hoping to hit 5,000 subscribers sometime this year, hopefully. But yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
Horus? No, not...
Wrong Horus!
That Horus. Okay. No, not that Horus. Our additional manufacturer that isn't part of the Big Three? So, Big Three-wise, you have the public IPSN, Smith Shimano, Harrison Armory. Your practical, your fancy, and your military. When it comes to Horus, it's,
That's the one I was talking about! Oh god, wait a second. Going back, I didn't notice this. I said it walked on all fours, but I didn't realize it was all hands. Oh god, that's even creepier.
Yeah. Horus is the funky one. In more ways than just that. But when comparing it to some of the other corporations, it's not a corporation. It's not a megacorp, it's not a small corporation, it's more...
an entity.
Ad hoc? Spread throughout random files and no one really knowing any of their origins. Alright, so company-wise, the reason you don't talk about Horus is because you can't talk about Horus. Again, not in the sense of you...
Is it top secret sort of SCP, the government is hiding it because, it would freak people out sort of hidden? Or what's going on here?
Union law, kind of. There might be that. It's in the sense that it's like talking about the Alpha Legion in 40k. You can never truly talk about the Alpha Legion. When a whole group shtick is being unknown, or not knowing their objective, or knowing who exactly is involved, you can't really talk about them. Which was the difficulty with this one. Though if you really like the Alpha Legion, honestly, Horus, as an organization, isn't too far off the ball for you. Not to say it's bad in any sort of sense, faction-wise. It's really interesting. It's just not anything solid. You don't have this entire history or track record like we did with the IPSN video, talking about their origins back around Luna all the way to modern day with their own planet and system. No, with Horus, it's, hey, we vaguely saw or maybe heard of them at this point or another. I mean, even within the book itself, there's...
Okay, I wonder, is there going to be something similar to the Alpha Legion where, like, you have people theorizing and go, oh, they're actually on humanity's side, or, you know, they actually remained loyal the entire time, you know, that sort of deal.
Conflicting reports on whether it arrived just a few hundred years ago, or whether it started all the way back with Ra's appearance. Some even think that maybe it is Ra, or they were the organization helping Ra form. It's really just all over the place.
Is there a video talking about Ra? Because that's another thing I want to learn about, the weird AI thing.
That's part of the charm. If you need a consistent, ominous, organized boogeyman, slightly organized boogeyman in the background, Horus is a good go-to. It really is. And not even necessarily in the direct negative sense, because its motivations are ambiguous
and nebulous. Okay, yeah.
And the fact that, and part of those conflicting reports are even the organization's acts and decisions. They even contradict each other. So really, who knows?
Really?
Not even members of Horus know. Though what is fun is some of the theories of what they are. Some theorize, namely the most popular one with some of the Union historians or classifications, is that it's something splintering off of Ra. Or Monist One, a sliver of it, or an NHP that got away from the original ones.
Again,
that's the other thing.
Eldritch Math God Ra and NHP. Ooh, is that in here? Eldritch Math. Oh, okay, yeah, so that's a video down the playlist. Ooh. Oh, God, that's going to be a fun one to get to. Ah, God.
Well, we'll talk about Ra's appearance. Back from the intro to Lancer, Ra and stuff, if you remember, is the I think, therefore I am into existence entity in Blink Space that appeared, said, humans, stop that. Bunch of different legal stuff to try and put a halt on transhumanism, specifically D-Corp, and then booked it. The stuff he left behind was a bunch of different NHPs left in the technology that he kind of interfaced with. Whether it was on purpose, splinters of him, images of him that then began to adapt, who knows? I mean, him's not even a proper word for it outside of, using the word Ra. But weird, extra dimensional entity that just came in, said no, and left Eldritch Math behind. So of those slivers...
Again, the concept of Eldritch Math, I think, well, again, I see a lot of things on Tumblr, but I love the, the whole thing of, what Eldritch, understanding Eldritch knowledge really actually encompasses and what it actually really is. It's like if you turned an ant into a human temporarily, and with the understanding of a human, where they could actually, perceive the world as we perceive it, and have communication and thoughts greater than just pheromone transfers and stuff like that, and then you turn them back into an ant, where they are no longer able to understand the world as they did anymore, but they remember being able to, and the madness that could come from that.
And those NHP, a lot of those original NHPs, captured, put in caskets, and then sent towards a vault on the surface of Venus, which the pressure is still terrifying. Man, that would be such an awesome heist mission, by the way. Anywho, that's separate. Vault with NHPs on Venus. Horus dealt with that. So the theory is, some of them got away, or one of them got away, and founded Horus. Founded in quotations. Though of the other theories, you have that Union might have made this as a honeypot to get Horizon sympathizers and any individual paracausal rogue militant elements looking for paracausal tech. Horizon, by the way, is a movement within Union space of those saying that NHP should have rights. Some say AI should also have rights, and it's just an intelligence we don't recognize. They range wildly, and again, kind of like Albatross, deserve their own little video covering them, but, a bit of overlap.
Again, I need to start going through these quicker, because I very much want to learn some more about these things.
Some think it's a GMS skunkworks, sending out random bits of blueprints to see what random field testing might bring up.
Okay.
Off the book sort of thing. Maybe it is a group of rogue NHPs that came together and are trying to just take down or free them from Union. Possibly it's just Omninet activists. Alien intelligence feeling itself through the Omninet and leaving bits of itself behind. Rogue NHP whose dreams are being interpreted by those members of Horus, acting it out. Ripples of last egregorian overmind that have just been rippling across the galaxy in the Omninet.
Gregorian overmind? Okay, aliens. Okay.
Telepathic hive mind aliens of the one Xena side. Second committee committed. Oh, Hercynia.
I'm sorry, I cannot think, I cannot watch that one clip of the Exterminatus happening without thinking of that one particular clip from If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device.
Though the reason there's so many of these different conflicting interpretations, images, is because Horus is only known through its individual actors and acts, which again, contradict each other and don't follow along the same lines. Running theme of, you don't know what's going on, even when it comes down to the function of their machines. Well, I mean, violence is definitely one of those for the chassis.
Okay.
Castigate, 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 castigate. When it comes to their tech as well, it's heavily paracausal and uses NHPs to an extent. But to further define paracausal, and what I mean by it's heavily using them, or it's outlawed to an extent, it's not. The research is restricted and limited, but Union itself uses it in day-to-day stuff. NHPs for one, which is used in more things than just military equipment.
Again, I need to learn more about what these NHPs actually are.
And then Blink Gates, Blink Space itself, the OmniNet, all of those are technically paracausal. And in the sense that paracausal isn't breaking the laws of physics, it's going outside the laws of physics, creating its own logic, then coming back in. Essentially, the outcome is not defined by our causality. So instead of going from A to B, it immediately goes from A to D, or A to Omega, and then it's just this whole other thing. So that's how you get its outside reality. And it's used a lot more often, it's just that Horus is notorious for it, particularly in the designs of their chassis.
Yeah, well, I mean, the fact that, I was freaked out about this one right here, but the fact you have this towering monstrosity over here with seemingly a floating head and it, being engulfed in ethereal blue fire, which I would assume is, not structurally irrelevant and is more there just as, a scare tactic for whoever you're fighting, because you look like you're fighting something literally from the depths of hell. And then there's this one with a weird no head over here. That's weird. And, there's one that's all floating parts.
So starting off, as we're heading into the chassis, namely how you get them, no one knows. There's many rumors, there's many ideas, but usually just randomly appears. Maybe it's for a test, maybe it's to call out to individual members, maybe it's attempts to recruit, or just field testing. Again, it's part of the reason there's so many contradictory things and no one knows what Horus is. One thing that is a regular thing, rebel and insurrectionist groups. Those two. Those kind of areas and groups that are already outside of the law usually get a lot of Horus prints. There's even some directly mentioned within the compendium. But you could just be printing your normal mech or a microwave, and all of a sudden, it's a Manticore. Well, actually, the microwave's probably a bit extreme. But it's Horus.
I actually would love that if, oh, hey, you need to get you need to replace the oven, it's broken. Okay, start, getting all the systems and payments and, stuff like that. And it's just printing up, and then you go away to, make yourself a cup of coffee while it's working, and you come back and there's just this thing in your living room.
And a lot of their designs look alien.
Very much so, yes.
Not designed by a person, not blocky, not really designed for function, more weirdly animalistic. It's strange.
Again, and I've said before, I said in the last one when I was doing a reaction to IAPSN, their designs are what I would design if I was designing mechs. Big, functional. They look like they have 2 inches of armor on them on the small ones. They're just big hunks of just defense with big heavy weapons that destroy.
Strange is the word for it.
Yeah.
Otherworldly. But of those mechs, we've now finally get into them. Part of their designs as well are believed to be tied to metavaults, which are pockets of paracausality, out of time, don't exist. Namely, Horus is associated with these because parts of the goblin frame, which we're about to talk about, came from one, or at least were recognized in one. So maybe time travelers is also Horus. Glitch does not clear that up any further.
And you know what? If Horus is in any way similar to the warp in 40k, I mean, literally every single one of these could be true at the same time. I mean, I would not be surprised if it wasn't. I mean, again, paracausal is like going out, having your own laws of physics, and then coming back in to bypass our laws of physics. So quite literally, again, literally everything could be happening at the same time.
So first off, naming theme-wise, fantasy monsters. So first we have the Baylor. So you might be noticing first that fire.
Yeah.
That's not fire. It will burn you like it, but that's not fire. Well, it won't burn you like it. It's nanites. It'll just take you apart. It's really scary. It really is.
Oh. So it's just exuding nanites that just disassemble. Oh. Okay, so I'm guessing that's one of those ones you want to take out if you're fighting it at very long range. Ooh.
It's not pleasant. Yeah, no, it's really scary. Ooh, another thing to go up, because, again, Nanite Swarm, it really could look like anything. And I mean anything, to the point that it's hard to tell if something's a Baylor until it begins acting like it with the Nanite Swarm. It could look like any number of these other mechs, and you would not know it's a Baylor until it worked. And while for the Baylor that's due to its nanites, and the code that Horus provides, it also goes along for a lot of the other Horus mechs. Because while we have the fun art here of, like, a different frame, Horus is defined in pattern groups that Union places on it. There's not a standard frame. Sure, with other frames as well, there's personalizations and variants that people can do, especially
of course,
Lancers
as you
themselves
do.
Customizing it. But when it comes to Horus, no one frame looks alike, even the official just flat standard Horus. Again, not a production. So all these other ones, the Baylor, nanites, so it could look like anything already, but all these other ones, it's just the parts, and more in how it functions versus how it actually looks.
Ooh, okay, so that's freaky already. Oh, God. Ugh.
But continuing on with the Baylor, outside of, nanites, eating you, gray swarm, gray goo, hides as other mechs, it's a Baylor, it's got a big whip, it tears you apart, shreds you, heals at the end of its own round, it just consistently regenerates, it doesn't need to do anything or use any parts in a rest, because it takes its parts. If you wanted to pilot a gray goo mass, play the Baylor. Fun thing about its origins, or where it was initially identified and found, was dealing with a new hive mind entity from the Baylor virus. This thing's a virus. It doesn't actually really spread, it just kind of appears or takes over an already existing mech or license. Not in the sense of just code, but if you have some of the nanites, it might just convert your entire chassis. You better hope that it considers you the pilot.
Oh, God. Yeah, the more I hear, the more I fear. Oh. Yeah, again, I'm there's some things you hear where like, oh, this fictional universe is so cool, I might want to live in it. The more I hear, the less I want to live in the Lancer universe.
Next up, a good old fun classic, Goblin. If you want to be a jerk, if you want to annoy, if you want to control, if you want to be a hacker, it's the annoying Goblin. Though ironically, it does actually have some buff stats. It's all about the tech action, hacking,
really?
Range, sensors. I mean, it's covered in antennae.
Yeah, I can see
that. It's less of a
frame,
more of just a hard suit. Also one of the first frames identified by Union about a few hundred years ago. No, 100? I mean, it's less of a frame or a chassis, and more just a hard suit, or even just an exoskeleton. I mean, you could see the guy in it. And when it comes to the hacking, its controls just really have like a small individual keyboard. Not a literal keyboard, but,
like weird
of its fun abilities to share some of its stats, it can also just latch onto other mechs. Though it is extremely fragile, like a goblin. You can just swat it. Oh, goblin.
Well, yeah, I'd imagine it would be rather fragile, given that, again, you just have the guy out there. So, I mean, even just imagine, like, oh, one well-placed shot right through the visor. Oh, the pilot's dead. Oh, what are you going to do?
Next is the Gorgon. Gorgon for a few reasons. One, it does actually have a projector which can cause brain hemorrhaging if you don't have any visual protection, and also just static shock and glitches within digital systems witnessing it.
Oh.
And while that's also the case for freezing enemies in place with some of its other abilities as well, it is the defense, goalie, I will bodyguard all my allies and have every reaction imaginable.
Okay, so hopefully he says something. What's going on with the person here? Is this, like, is this how they're controlling it, or is this just, you know, person here to show scale of the machine? Because I can't tell if this is like a similar thing as like, is that the pilot right there? Or again, is this the pilot right there? Like, how do you drive this?
Like a very scary guard dog. Also, that weird like visual pattern is considered paracausal tech because Union has no idea how it's doing that or where the pattern's coming from.
That'll
also
certainly do it.
Because it entirely leaves its allies alone. Do you like drones? Do you really like drones? And I mean really like drones. Well, you can play as drones, or that magnet guy from Revengeance.
Okay.
The entire thing, outside of its main cockpit, which is here, can come apart. Though again, designs differ to the point that, even within its sheet, it's described as having potentially torn previous pilots apart when they didn't know it was installed.
Yeah, that's not good. I mean, what was it before? I forget the name of it. In the previous one, I talked about that one, like, four-legged support mech as, like, oh, you could set it up to be almost like a drone aircraft carrier or something like that. I like that idea a lot more than whatever this is.
But you are playing as a drone swarm that's holding together as if it's one chassis. And you might get some similarities between this and the Baylor, which even the guide acknowledges, believing this to be a precursor. Also, the design and original blueprints and NHP on board for this one was stolen directly from Venus. Somehow.
Oh, okay.
And then we have Cascade Enemies of the Godhead. Manticore! Noted for its spines. Again, fantasy creature. I guess we forgot to talk about the Hydra on that. Spines, spikes, electricity, damaging itself to get bonuses. It is a walking Tesla coil. Well,
damaging
of Tesla coils, actually. And not the best ones. Namely because in its description, when it's applied to other frames, it even mentions them melted after action. It's a lot of heat. A lot of shocking, a lot of moving, getting in close, electrocuting, energy AP damage, and castigate. God, I keep trying to swing to that. And cascading enemies of the Godhead.
So I have to wonder, is this one of those things where, yeah, okay, so just having it, does it in game, does it basically just have an area of effect that if you're close enough to it, you just start taking damage from like shock or something like that?
This is the one frame that's built to self-destruct. As in, any of them can self-destruct, it's an action you can do. It does double damage when self-destructing. But specifically, you need to be inside it. No getting out of this one. Minotaur!
Okay, so it's quite literally the kamikaze suicide bomber mech. I mean, again, I can see the, gameplay-wise, I can see the, the utility of having one that's, designed to get in close and stuff like that. But, like in-universe, who would want to pilot a mech that's specifically designed to explode with them inside it?
Slow down, you're in a maze. Get out of here. What maze? It's not the one you find yourself in, but it is. In the sense that, when it's described that they were opening up the Minotaur, it was impossible for all the internal parts to fit in. It's bigger on the inside. There's also no actual cockpit, you just kind of teleport into it, or somewhere. But this is all about slowing, having enemies travel somewhere, and even hurling them into a metaphorical, slightly causal, paracausal maze. Hence the name. Also, the horns.
Yeah.
If you want to screw with distance, as in walking 1 foot is actually 10 miles, or inverted, it's the Minotaur. Just screws with space. Time is messed with another. And last...
Space is warped and time is bendable.
Okay, granted, all of these have been, very weird. But out of all of them, like, that one's just weird. Like... even just, like, the space warping thing where, like, make at, like, 10 miles 1 foot. Imagine, like, wouldn't that... Can you imagine just basically using that to basically just avoid space travel? Like, I want to travel, like 30,000 light years to the planet in another system. Oh, okay, here we go. Step, we're on the other planet. Okay. Again, and again, just the idea that it's bigger on the inside where all of its components can actually fit inside of it. Okay.
Of the core frames, the gun does not exist. Pegasus, the freak. It's Pegasus.
Here's the one I was talking.
That doesn't exist, but it does. But it doesn't. But it doesn't.
What do you mean?
Though it is all about not existing, changing, existing at the same time, paradoxes. Namely that you shop the gun on its back, just guarantees does 1 damage. Just does. No roll to hit. It's a free action, not even taking one of your attacks. You're not actually firing it. It just does. It just hits. It just does damage. But then your other guns, like Mimic Gun itself, it's all about replicating, changing, being the right thing at the right time, and prediction. It has the Sisyphus NHP on board, which is all about knowing the happiest man alive. Or the happiest Eldritch paracausal entity alive, I guess. Horus, it's all weird. Though we were just covering the core frames, there are the supplement ones. However, we're just touching on this for now. And before you go, did you know the Horus page is actually on 404?
What? What do you mean? Wait, is this the end of the video? Oh, jeez. Okay, again, so... I mean, granted, I knew what I was getting into, given that, you know, Horus is, you know, described as the Eldritch Horrors mech. But we have, you know, mech that is, you know, a drone swarm that could tear its pilot apart. We have its potential predecessor that is basically just a gray goo scenario. You have the one that just does or does not have the gun. You have the one that's the TARDIS. Granted, I mean, like, this might be just for me being, you know, a lot more used to, like, 40k and the warp, which, I mean, the stuff that can happen in the warp is nightmarish enough. You know, people fused in the walls and screaming, demons and stuff like that. But just something about that is just nightmare fuel, some of those. Like, oh god, your mech getting infected with the nanites, and then just deciding you're not the pilot anymore and there's nothing you can do. Oh god. God, and it's one of those things where, like, just a thought that reminds me a lot of that one scene from the modern remake of The Day the Earth Stood Still, where you see, like, the nanites of the big robot thing, I'm forgetting its name, like, start eating through the guy's suit and eating through him. And it's like, oh, just absolute nightmare fuel. Oh, yeah, that's definitely going to be it for now. Yeah, next one is going to be GMS, Space Walmart. So that sounds like it's going to be fun. Yeah, but that's definitely going to be it for now. So, yeah, of course, as always, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Corner video, link to my Let's Play of the day. And, yeah, with all that out of the way, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.